Have you ever noticed how a single criticism can ruin your entire day? One careless word, one random offense, and suddenly your mind is on fire, as if your whole worth had been questioned. But what if I told you that the power was never in their hands? It has always been in yours. Here's the shocking truth. It's not what they say that hurts you. It's the space you allow those words to occupy inside you. We live in a world where people comment on everything, often without thinking, often without knowing. And if you remain a prisoner of their opinions, you'll live like a puppet, pulled by invisible strings. A strong mind is not one that reacts to every attack, but one that chooses when it's worth moving. And here's the counterintuitive belief. Silence, many times, is more powerful than any response. Those who master this secret discover a rare freedom, the freedom of never being shaken by criticism or offense. In this video, you'll discover how philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus transformed insults into wisdom, and how you can apply the same principles in your daily life. You'll learn how to control anger, stay calm under pressure, and develop a mental strength that makes you unshakable. If this message resonates with you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video, because you never know who else needs to hear this today. A strong mind begins with the awareness that criticism and offense are an inevitable part of life. They come from all sides, co-workers, family, and even complete strangers. Those who constantly seek approval end up prisoners of others' opinions, trapped in an invisible cell built by expectation. Stoic philosophy teaches that this imprisonment is nothing but an illusion. What others say reveals more about their limited perception than about who we are. The first defense is simple, yet powerful. This does not define me. It only reflects the other person's view. Picture this. Someone throws a harsh critique, maybe even an unfair one, and you feel that immediate urge to strike back. But then you remember Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. If it is true, there is no reason to be angry. If it is false, there is no reason to be offended. That shift in perspective turns an attack into an exercise in self-control. Practicing this daily builds mental strength and prepares us for bigger storms. Emotional control doesn't appear in a single moment. It's forged through constant training. Seneca once said that we become slaves the moment we hand our emotions over to those who insult us. How many times have you let a single sentence ruin your entire day? That dependency is nothing more than chains tied to the ego. But when we realize that every insult says more about the one who speaks than the one who listens, we experience an unshakable inner peace. It's like placing a shield in front of sharp words. They hit and fall, unable to touch our essence. Stoicism teaches that we don't control what others think or say, only how we react. Imagine a street vendor handing out flyers. If you don't extend your hand, the paper never becomes yours. Offenses work the same way. They only become ours if we accept them. This simple metaphor reveals the power of perception. Those who refuse to absorb verbal poison protect their self-discipline and save their energy for what truly matters. In practice, this means training your mind daily. If someone calls you incompetent, instead of believing it, ask, "Does this match my actions and achievements?" Most of the time, the answer is no. That reflection alone is an exercise in self-improvement. Sharpening this clarity is like sharpening a sword. With each conscious thought, the blade of mental strength becomes more resilient. And the stronger it is, the less vulnerable it becomes to ego attacks. So true mental strength begins with the awareness that criticism holds no power unless we give it. And this awareness expands when we understand that our identity cannot be hijacked by words. Mastering this art is only the first step toward becoming unshakable. But there's more. Not just recognizing criticism, but transforming it into silent victories of emotional control. Emotional control is the key to remaining unshaken. Those who react impulsively always lose, but those who respond calmly always win. Imagine someone trying to hand you a poisoned gift. If you don't take it, it never becomes yours. Provocations work the same way. Ignoring them is not weakness, but mastery. Silence often speaks louder than any harsh response because it reveals discipline, emotional control, and mental strength, exactly what Epictetus taught in his writings. When someone attacks you with words, the ego's automatic response is to fight back. but a trained mind knows that retaliating is falling into the other person's trap. Whoever shouts loses control. Whoever remains calm becomes master of the situation. Think of a police officer in traffic. If he responded to every insult, he would lose his authority. Life works the same way. Each time you resist the urge to lash out, you strengthen the muscle of self-control. Seneca said, "No wind is favorable to those who don't know where they're going." In the same way, those without emotional control drift without direction, tossed by external currents. An unshakable mind learns to hold the rudder steady, even as waves of provocation crash against the boat. This is the training of resilience, enduring storms without sinking into anger. Silence becomes a strategic ally, and every moment you choose not to react is a victory over the ego. Here's a practical exercise. Next time someone provokes you, take 3 deep breaths before responding. This simple act calms the body, breaks the automatic cycle of anger, and gives reason the space to take charge. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about pausing before acting. That small gap between stimulus and response is where true freedom lies. And the more you train this, the less power provocations will have over you. Silence is not emptiness, it is a declaration of power. It unsettles more than 1,000 angry words. When you don't react, the aggressor is left lost without fuel for the fire they tried to ignite. This is not passivity, but wisdom, knowing when and how to respond. That's emotional intelligence in action, preserving energy, maintaining inner peace, and investing strength in what truly matters. To control anger, then, is to practice daily self-discipline and mastery of the mind. In a world where most people live in the heat of the moment, those who train themselves to respond with calm gain a rare advantage. Yet, there's an even deeper step ahead, not only containing reactions, but turning every criticism and offense into fuel for growth. That's where we're heading next. Criticism can be turned into fuel. Instead of rejecting it, the strong mind transforms negative words into lessons. Some criticisms reveal blind spots we can't see alone, and when filtered, they guide growth. Others are nothing but envy or spite. The wisdom lies in separating them. Absorb what builds, discard what destroys. This process forges resilience, turning stones thrown against us into steps that elevate us higher. A practical way to apply this is to write down the criticisms you receive and divide them into 2 columns. One for what might be useful, another for what adds nothing. For example, if someone says your work is sloppy, check if there's something to improve. But if someone says, "You'll never be good enough," that belongs in the discard column. This act of filtering strengthens perception and prevents emotions from being ruled by other people's voices. Marcus Aurelius taught that even hardships can be tools for growth. Every constructive criticism is a mirror that shows where we must sharpen our behavior. There's no defeat in being criticized, only opportunities for self-improvement. It's like a blacksmith hammering metal. Even the hardest blows shape the blade into something stronger. This is how a resilient, unshakable mind is built. On the other hand, empty criticism doesn't deserve a second of attention. It's like background noise, always there, but irrelevant to the melody of life. The secret is not letting this noise distract us from our rhythm. Developing this ability is like running while ignoring the shouts of a crowd. At first distracting, but with practice, your focus sharpens on the finish line. That is what Stoic philosophy calls calm under pressure. Even great thinkers like Seneca and Epictetus faced endless criticism. What set them apart was how they used it, not as chains, but as lessons. That posture built their immortal legacies. We too can choose whether a critique will corrode our confidence or fortify our determination. That choice is always ours, and resilience is trained through it. Thus, a truly strong mind doesn't fear criticism, but embraces it as an ally. Criticism stops being a threat and becomes a tool of self-mastery. But there's something even deeper to uncover, understanding that an offense only has power if we believe in it. And that's our next step. An offense only has power if we believe in it. If someone calls you something you are not, why let it affect you? It's like trying to wet a stone with raindrops. Nothing penetrates, nothing changes its essence. Stoic philosophy teaches that our identity does not depend on external judgment, but on the inner clarity of who we are. When we recognize what we've already overcome and the values we hold, no word spoken against us can wound our essence. True security is born of self-knowledge and self-discipline. Think of everyday situations. Maybe a boss in a fit of anger implied that you were incompetent despite all the results you've delivered. Or perhaps a friend, in a moment of frustration, threw out harsh words that didn't reflect who you are. Believing in those words is like wearing clothes that don't belong to you. Emotional control is refusing to wear that garment and remembering that it reveals only the state of the one who threw it, not your truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about remembering what is within our control, our actions, choices, and character. What others think or say lies outside our reach. Allowing insults to define our self-esteem is handing them a power they never had. This is a cornerstone of personal development, filtering what comes from outside while keeping what is genuine inside intact. That's how we exercise mental strength and emotional intelligence. A useful practice is to create a list of personal achievements. Each time you hear an offense, reread that list and ask yourself, does this word match the reality of my life? Almost always the answer is no. This habit sharpens perception and reminds you that your value does not depend on external recognition. The offense loses its power and instead becomes a moment to reaffirm your identity. Seneca said, "No one can hurt me without my permission." In the end, it is we who grant or deny power to words. A trained mind understands that true freedom lies in not reacting like a slave to provocations. When we don't believe in the verbal poison, it loses its force. That is not indifference, but self-discipline, the fruit of training resilience and maintaining firmness in emotional storms. When this principle sinks in, life becomes lighter. Criticism and offense stop stealing our inner peace and dissolve like smoke in the air. But mastering this requires constant training. And that brings us to the next step. Daily discipline to prepare the mind not to be shaken by provocations. Staying calm in the face of provocations is daily training, just like strengthening a muscle. Stoic philosophy teaches that we shouldn't wait for great challenges to test the mind. It's in everyday annoyances that true emotional control is forged. In traffic, when someone cuts you off, or in a long line that seems endless, those are the moments to practice patience. Each time you resist the urge to explode, your mind learns how to remain calm under pressure. This constant practice becomes a shield against life's bigger storms. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to us that disturbs us, but how we interpret it." If someone interrupts you in conversation, you can choose to get offended, or you can remember that your peace doesn't depend on their behavior. That's resilience training, practicing calm in simple situations so you're ready for critical ones. The mastery of the mind is built in these small details that, over time, make a massive difference in personal development. Here's a practical exercise. Set personal challenges during the day. Decide that in traffic, you won't honk even if someone makes a mistake. Or during a heated conversation, practice listening fully before answering. These small challenges strengthen self-discipline and emotional intelligence. It's like training with light weights before running a marathon. When life's big battles come, you'll already have the mental strength not to be shaken. Staying calm does not mean being passive. It means acting with awareness. Marcus Aurelius wrote that anger is like fire. It consumes first the one who carries it. When you train your mind to respond with balance, you avoid being burned and still shine light on those around you. Serenity inspires confidence and authority, while losing control reveals fragility. Calmness then becomes a quiet but undeniable sign of power. Another powerful practice is strategic silence. Not every provocation deserves a response. Often, silence preserves energy, avoids unnecessary conflict, and demonstrates true mastery of the mind. Practicing this daily allows you to hold on to your inner peace, even in chaos. It's like standing at the eye of the storm, untouched, steady, unshaken. This daily training separates those ruled by circumstances from those who rule themselves. Each ignored provocation, each moment of calm, lays another brick in the fortress of a resilient mind. But the journey doesn't stop here. There's something even more powerful than calm: self-confidence, the shield that makes external attacks lose all their strength. And that's where we'll go next. Self-confidence works like an invisible shield against criticism and offense. When someone is clear about their values and accomplishments, no negative word can tear them down. It's like a well-built wall. It may be hit by stones, but it doesn't collapse. On the other hand, those who doubt themselves crumble at the slightest judgment. Stoic philosophy reminds us that real worth doesn't come from external validation, but from inner discipline and the certainty of walking a path aligned with our principles. In practice, this means not depending on applause to keep moving forward. Think of an athlete who trains in silence, with no cheering crowd, relying only on their own effort. They don't need constant approval because they know their progress. The same applies to our lives. Each goal achieved, each challenge overcome strengthens our sense of purpose. Self-confidence is built in everyday life through small victories that prove to us, not to the world, that we are capable. Seneca said that other people's opinions are like unstable winds, changing direction constantly. If our stability depends on that, we'll live in permanent turbulence. But when we anchor ourselves in concrete results and self-improvement, we find balance. A simple exercise is to keep a list of personal achievements and revisit it whenever doubts creep in. This habit is a reminder of the path already traveled and reinforces that no criticism can erase what was built with discipline. Take the workplace as an example. Unfair evaluations are common. Instead of letting them break you, look at the results you've delivered. If you meet goals, improve your skills, and stay disciplined, why give weight to a single negative opinion? This objective look strengthens emotional intelligence and preserves inner peace. After all, the value of a tree isn't in what others say about it, but in the fruit it produces. Self-confidence also protects against insults. When someone calls you something that doesn't match your reality, a confident mind simply smiles. It knows there's no need to prove anything. This comes from training resilience and mastering the mind. Instead of wasting energy on retaliation, the self-assured person keeps walking, focused on their path. That posture radiates strength and inspires respect. That's why cultivating self-confidence is essential for anyone who doesn't want to be shaken by criticism. It's a silent reminder that your worth isn't defined by words, but by what you build. And when you reach that state, life feels much lighter. But there's still a next step. Realizing that life is too short to waste on offense. And that's what we'll see in the next point. A shielded mind understands that life is far too short to waste on offenses. Holding grudges is like carrying stones in your pockets. The more you carry, the heavier the journey becomes. Stoic philosophy teaches that resentment doesn't hurt the one who attacked us. It poisons us instead, chaining us to invisible weights. When we choose not to be shaken, we save time and energy to invest in what truly matters: personal growth, inner peace, and meaningful relationships. Seneca said that feeding anger is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to suffer. This metaphor perfectly shows the absurdity of clinging to negative words. Letting go and moving forward is the greatest proof of mental strength. Life becomes lighter because we no longer allow offenses to dictate our moods. Choosing release is not weakness. It's an act of self-discipline and mastery of the mind. Here's a practical example. Avoid carrying small arguments into the rest of your day. How often has a fight in traffic or a rude comment at work lingered, poisoning your whole afternoon? A strong mind notices this trap and refuses to fall into it. Instead of replaying the offense over and over, it chooses balance, reading a good book, taking a walk, or meditating for a few minutes. These habits are not escapes. They are tools of stress management and resilience training. This doesn't mean being indifferent, but being selective. Marcus Aurelius advised evaluating constantly what deserves our attention. If something doesn't contribute to growth, it doesn't deserve space within us. That's emotional intelligence in action, investing energy only in what builds, not in what corrodes. Every time we do this, we strengthen both our mental resilience and our freedom. A shielded mind also sees that every minute spent on resentment is a minute stolen from life. Releasing offenses frees space for meaningful goals, genuine joy, and healthier connections. That choice creates a sense of lightness no act of revenge could ever provide. It's an echo of ancient wisdom, trading the weight of negativity for the serenity of peace. In the end, letting go liberates us. It's like dropping a heavy suitcase and finally walking freely again. But there's an even higher step: realizing that the ultimate strength of the mind isn't just in ignoring criticism, but in building a life of peace with yourself, entirely independent of outside approval. And that's our next point. The true power of a strong mind is revealed when we learn to live in peace with ourselves, without depending on the world's approval or silence. Criticism and offense stop being threats and become opportunities to show maturity. Stoic philosophy teaches that real freedom begins when we no longer need external validation. An unshakable mind shows the world something far more valuable: inner serenity, sustained by discipline and self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself never to let the turbulence of others disturb his calm. This is a reminder that we can live in tranquility even when everything around us is chaos. Whoever stays calm under pressure gains a strength that words cannot break. It is like a rock standing firm in the waves. The waters crash, but never move it. That is the living image of mental strength, forged through daily practice of mastery of the mind. Seneca added that the wise remain the same regardless of external circumstances. That means when someone praises us, we don't inflate, and when someone criticizes, we don't collapse. This constancy comes from self-discipline and emotional intelligence. It is like walking a tightrope. No matter what the crowd shouts, the focus remains on moving steadily toward the end. That posture inspires trust and respect, showing that we are not slaves of the ego. In practice, living in peace with yourself means cultivating habits that sustain this balance. Reading works of Stoic philosophy, like Seneca's letters or Epictetus's discourses, feeds the mind with ancient wisdom. Meditating daily, writing reflections in a journal, or practicing gratitude are ways to reinforce your inner fortress. These practices protect you from attacks, making sure no offense can topple your spirit. This state also brings clarity to focus on what truly matters. When we are no longer trapped by the hunt for approval, we have energy to invest in goals, relationships, and purpose. This creates a cycle of personal development where mental resilience grows with each conscious choice. The world's silence stops being uncomfortable and simply becomes the background for inner peace. Thus, the secret of an unshakable mind isn't silencing critics, but living in such a way that their words lose all weight. Those who reach this level discover a rare freedom, the freedom of never being shaken. And this is only the beginning, because the introduction of our message must reveal this secret to the audience right from the start. Now that you understand how criticism and offense don't need to hold power over you, it's time to apply this knowledge. Ask yourself, how many times have you lost your peace because of empty words? And how many opportunities have you missed because you were trapped in someone else's judgment? Mental strength doesn't come from theory alone. It comes from daily practice in mastering the mind and exercising emotional control. Imagine the impact of cultivating this strength, staying calm under pressure, not overreacting, using every criticism as fuel and every silence as proof of power. That is the path of self-improvement and personal growth. The real question is, are you willing to train your resilience and finally shield your mind against negativity? If this message struck a chord, don't wait for tomorrow. Start today. Take one criticism you've received recently and ask yourself, does this define me or does it only reflect the other person's limited view? That simple reflection can change the way you deal with the world and free you from invisible burdens you've carried for years. And I want to hear from you. What was the last criticism that almost shook you? Write it down in the comments, because sharing might help not just you, but also others going through the same struggles. Let's build a community of mental strength and Stoic wisdom together. If you want to keep learning how to strengthen your mind and live with serenity in the middle of chaos, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video. Each new lesson will bring you timeless wisdom to live with discipline, resilience, and true freedom. Because in the end, a strong mind is the greatest treasure anyone can achieve.